NC pork. Good for the plate, great for the state.
Welcome into Bold North State Football Daily, Week 1 of the 2025 season. The games start this Thursday night. They go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Man, nobody's going to cover it any better than we do here on the North Carolina Sports Network. And from the ACC powers to the FCS contenders, from Division II to Division III to high school Friday nights, which got started back last Friday. Man, football season is here, and joining us is the greatest recruiter in the history of college football. He's with us here. He's with me every week. Soon we'll add Jim Collins, but right now we have Tim Brewster, Coach Brew. You have been around football in the Bold North State for over 36 years. I know you're excited to be talking football, but man, you have seen a lot over your tenure since you came to Chapel Hill as a first-year assistant with Mac Brown back in the late 80s.
I sure have, Mike, and there's no better time of the year. It's amazingly exciting. Football is here. It's back. It's what we live for, man. And it's really unique for me. I've been coaching now 41, 42 years, and there isn't many openers that I've sat out. I've been involved in this is a great way, Mike, for me to really stay involved. And I'm just so excited to be with you and the people of the great state of North Carolina. Let's rock and roll.
Now, you and I have already been to a few practices over at the University of North Carolina. We both worked there. Well, I worked there once. You've worked there twice. And there is no bigger offseason story in college football, perhaps, than Bill Belichick in Chapel Hill. From what you're hearing and what you saw in the limited amount of stuff we got to see, other than catching balls off a jug machine and watching them stretch from 50 yards away, how has that NFL structure that you're aware of, having coached in the NFL as well, including Hall of Famer 2025 class Antonio Gates, what is the vibe around that Carolina program right now as they try to become what they say is the 33rd NFL franchise?
Well, Mike, you were there. We were there together. There's a real buzz in Chapel Hill. There's a real excitement about what Coach Belichick is going to bring to this football team, to this university, the type of product that he's going to put on the field in the opening ball game next week. And I will be highly surprised if it's not a very good football team. Should be extremely well coached. You talk about probably one of the greatest of all time when you talk about Coach Belichick, and I know Coach. I've been around him in my career. He's really enhanced the roster. Mike Lombardi and Coach Belichick have spent a great deal of time in the portal and revamping the roster. From what I could see, Mike, it really looked like a bigger, more physical team than the one we saw last year when I played him at Charlotte. The excitement level is through the roof, man. It's just like, how can you not be excited? You got the Hall of Fame coach and Bill Belichick, we've got, North Carolina football back. And so it's going to be awful exciting, Mike, as you know.
When you talk about these Tar Heels, they didn't get any votes in the preseason top 25. They weren't picked in the top half of the Atlantic Coast Conference. So there are a lot of people that are skeptical that the Tar Heels may be getting the last 2 years of NFL Bill Belichick and not the Tom Brady Bill Belichick. Maybe even, one of the guys that coached in Cleveland once upon a time, or in some of his other stops where it wasn't so rosy. What are the things that you will look for in this week 1 game next Monday night against TCU that will tell you if this program is in a position to where maybe in time, maybe not immediately, but in time, could be on the right track under this veteran head coach?
The number one thing you look at is how disciplined the football team are they going to be? Are they going to play the game with numerous penalties and sloppiness and that type thing, or are they going to be a hard-nosed, disciplined football team coming out the gate that's going to play the game the right way? And I'm sure that Bill has spent a great deal of time with his team. On penalties, and there's just so much, Mike. There's so much of the unknown in the opening ball game. You just never know, and particularly, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, is there 70 new players on that football team?
70 out of 105, indeed.
I mean, it's just absolutely mind-blowing that that's where we're at in college football now, that the whole rosters are being flipped and revamped. And so it's an extreme challenge. I was with Deion Sanders at both Jackson State and at the University of Colorado, where he revamped the whole rosters. And it's not easy. It really isn't. And with the NIL stuff and with the egos, with the personalities in the locker room, it's a very, very delicate mesh, Mike. And, it really takes somebody special to really have a great hand on their football team and how they're going to respond. Because, when in this day and time, when you're talking about the different amounts of money that kids are getting, it can be dicey, to say the least.
You've got a veteran quarterback coming off a devastating injury in Max Johnson, whose dad, Brad, from Swannanoa Owen High School up in Black Mountain, is a former NFL guy. So he's been around that NFL quarterback mindset for a long time. That has to give, you would think, Bill Belichick some confidence, but he's coming off an injury. Then you have a redshirt sophomore in Gio Lopez coming in from South Alabama. They're both left-handed quarterbacks, but who do you go with? I mean, everybody seems to think that it's going to be Gio Lopez. Do you think that this will be something where Belichick, a veteran head coach who likes dependability, who does not like mistakes, who likes sharp mental focus, is he going to stick with a guy? Or if something gets bumpy, does he pull the trigger quick and get somebody else into that lineup?
I've got some really personal experience with the Johnson family. Brad Johnson, one of the all-time great quarterbacks from the state of North Carolina, played at Florida State, a great friend of mine. And I happened to coach 2 years at the University of Florida, and we played against Max Johnson both in Baton Rouge when he was at LSU and in the swamp in Gainesville. And Max Johnson came out victorious against a damn good Florida football team, and so I think there's some people that don't really quite understand exactly what Max brings to the plate. I think Max's skill set is much better than people want to give him credit for. He's a pro-style quarterback, stand in the pocket, deliver, make throws, tremendous courage like his father, toughness off the chart. I have amazing admiration for Max Johnson. Okay. Gio just come in. He, played for Major Applewhite down at South Alabama. Again, an athletic guy, not a big guy. I think Mike listed about 6 foot tall, but again, moves around the pocket and can really extend the play, can do some things. To me today, Mike, you have to be able to. One of the best stats that I look at with quarterbacks is how many first downs they can get on their own with their feet off schedule, not off schedule. And so the protection breaks down and you go get a first down with your feet. Do you have the ability to do that? Both Max and Gio, both. And I think Max's ability to do it is a little bit, there's people are sleeping on his ability in the pocket a little bit to go get first downs with his feet. Gio, again, I don't see that issue at all. I see him, the tape that I've looked at on him. This guy can make some throws. He can get the ball. He can extend the ball down the field. The vertical seams, he will attack them. He can hit the throws at the numbers on it. very strong-armed kid, and has the ability to make plays with his feet. And so I think that, North Carolina is really in a pretty darn good position, Mike, where they've got two quarterbacks that have played a fair amount of football. Max Johnson had played in the SEC. Max Johnson is a guy that's proven. He's a guy that has been in the fire. And Gio's a guy that's coming from South Al a little bit. He's going to get a taste of a higher level of football, and I think it'll be good either way. But it'll be very, very interesting to me. Again, there's no substitute for experience, Mike. No substitute for experience. The guy that, Max Johnson has been under the fire. He's been in the fire in the toughest conference in college football. Some say, I say that wink, wink, when my buddies in the Big Ten. But, SEC football is real.
Do you pull the trigger on a guy if he starts slow at quarterback and put in another guy? I mean, how much are you managing to win game one as opposed to winning the season?
I think without a doubt, coming out of the opener, Mike, 1-0 is imperative.
Right.
Okay. I mean, Coach Belichick sees nothing else. 1-0 is the only thing that matters. And I think that I don't think it's going to be a real quick hook. I think that Coach is going to let whoever is his guy, let him stay out there, let him get some drives. If he proves that he's not capable or not ready to win with this football team next Monday night, then I think that Coach, I don't think he'll ever shy away from, if he thinks the other guy gives him a better chance to win, then I think he goes with the other guy. I just don't know. It'll be interesting to me to see how quick a hook, Mike, it'll be.
It's football season, y'all. Tailgating 101 brought to you by the North Carolina Port Council. And Roy Lee, what are the essentials that you need for a great tailgate?
Well, rule number one for any tailgate is don't show up empty-handed, right? If you forget your lawn chair, you can stand around. If you forget your cooler, maybe you can con a drink off somebody else. But you got to bring something to the tailgate. And what I recommend everybody bring,
here it comes,
is bacon. Because bacon makes everything better. And you can use this throughout the day. So you got a breakfast tailgate, we're gonna make biscuits. You got a lunch tailgate, you can throw it in on a cheeseburger. Your team's not doing well on the field, you just have some bacon, and again, bacon makes everything better. So wonderful opportunity. You can cook it in advance, bring it to the tailgate, throw it on there. It's awesome.
Raising the bacon, raising the bar. The North Carolina Port Council gives you these Tailgate 101 tips all season long here on the North Carolina Sports Network. Now, you've been a head coach. You were the interim head coach at Charlotte last year. Did a hell of a job. Should have gotten the job. You've been the head coach in the Big Ten at Minnesota. So you dealt with that spotlight, with that scrutiny that comes from a media that is so intense now, even though it's not an experienced media, it's 24/7. I mean, it's nonstop. What's going through the mind of a head coach a week out from the first game?
These guys are veteran, experienced guys. And so, but the biggest thing for him is, does he have all the I's dotted? Situational football. Okay. Have I covered each and every situation that potentially can come up in the football game? And so that's where, you have your call sheets, you go through your game day tests, that type thing. And you just, you just really question each, every day up until that opener. Hey, have we dotted every I and crossed every T? Where are we at in this thing? And I, like I said, I think we're talking about, experience, TCU, a veteran experience group, and so, and then again, Coach Belichick, and so, I don't think that there'll be that big of a problem there. To me, it's going to be, Mike, how do the players handle opening night jitters? How do the
crazy in there?
That's exactly right. And are they gonna, how are they gonna be? And I mean, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure on North Carolina with who their coach is. I mean, there's a lot of people that just truly expect the Tar Heels to win. And I'm going to tell you what now. Let's not. TCU played for a national championship just a couple of years ago. I think this is a hell of a matchup.
Oh, it really is. And if you go back to your Colorado tenure, wasn't one of your first games against TCU? So you know what it's like to take a team into a game against TCU. Look, it's all different. The players are all different, this and that. But go back to your time at the University of Colorado with Deion Sanders. And you mentioned the roster flip that you guys went through when you were bringing in the Louis luggage. Get rid of the Samsonite, bringing in the Louis. But it's kind of the same thing that's going on in Chapel Hill right now. So what's that mood around the team? Are people just itching to make a statement? What's a good story you can tell me from that Colorado launch of the Buffaloes program under Coach Prime?
Coach Prime just had such a unique way of relating to players, of communicating with players, and I think that's the huge ingredient. That's the huge piece. There's a lot of people think that Coach Belichick is not that kind of guy, that he doesn't spend the time with the kids and have that type of relationship with the kid, that warm and fuzzy type of feeling. And that's where Coach Prime, he did all kinds of fun stuff with the kids. I mean, he had offensive linemen catching punts, and he would do something fun each and every day leading up to that opener. We were on the road at TCU for the opener, and just absolutely played flawless, Mike. I mean, had a flawless performance. Shedeur Sanders was phenomenal. But I think it was just had so much to do with Coach Prime and his persona. I mean, you talk about swagger. I mean, there ain't nobody in the country that brings more swag to the game than Coach. And I really think that the players take on that person. I always say, the players are going to take on the personality of the coach. And I think I said this to a good friend of mine, Thomas Hammocks, the head football coach at Northern Illinois, and he was my running back coach at Minnesota. But I said to Thomas the other day, be the most confident, be the most poised coach in America on opening night and the days leading up to it. Be somebody a little bit different, man. I mean, let your players know that, hey, man, I'm with you and I'm freaking ready, And I told Thomas, I said, shoot, you find the sweetest suit that you can find. I mean, when you come walking, when you go to get on the bus and to go get on that plane, that team's going to say, all right, coach, and I think those kind of things really help you.
Now, the one thing I can always bet on is that Tim Brewster's going to look sharp on game day, because the last game day we were together was your homecoming at Jackson State in 2022. Brother, you rolled out with 3 different outfits. You had one for pregame, one for the first half, one for the second half. Was that planned? Was that something that Coach Prime put together? Or was that just an original Brew thing that you matriculated over to your fellow assistant coach?
I would like to say, Mike, that it was a Brew deal, but it wasn't. I mean, this was just Coach Prime. Hey, Mike, every single game we coached, we had a pregame outfit. We had a game outfit. We had a post game. I mean, it was just Coach Prime's way of doing things. And again, I think it just went back to the players. The players really enjoyed it. They enjoyed the personality that Coach Prime brought to the field and brought to the coaching staff. The thing that head coaches got to do with his staff. Everybody's not the most confident guy in the world, Mike. And one of the huge jobs of a head coach is to make sure his staff is ready. Is his staff ready? Is his staff confident? Have you prepared like crazy to put your players in the best situations to be in? And so I think that's what truly separates the great coaches, Mike, is the guys that can really not only prepare the players but prepare the staff.
Looking for real deal local flavor in Wilmington? Head to the Original Saltworks restaurant, run by Bob Hubbard and serving up Southern staples since the 1970s. Hot grits, buttery biscuits, juicy burgers and dogs. It's fast, it's fresh, and it's full of bold North State pride. Open for breakfast and lunch 7 days a week, always starting at 7 a.m. It's the Original Saltworks on Oleander Drive in Wilmington.
So Carolina and TCU, Labor Day Monday, 8 o'clock ESPN. We'll get to your prediction on the Tar Heels and the Horned Frogs a little bit later in this edition of Bold North State Football Daily. We'll be here every day talking football, talking pro football, college football, big school, small school, high school football, you name it. We're talking ball right here on NCSN. Now, the first game of this week in the ACC comes on Thursday night, and it's at Carter Finley. The Carter is going to be rocking because Dave Doran says he wants to kick East Carolina's ass after the end of last season. That's big talk. He's confident. He has trust. He also has a new defensive coordinator and a new offensive coordinator. Now you go over to East Carolina, and Blake Harrell, he took over from Mike Houston midstream last year, went 5-1 down the stretch. He gets the promotion. And now he is coming in with a returning quarterback, but not a lot else is returning in Greenville. Just like Charlotte, that only has 40% of their roster coming back, and Appalachian State that was cherry-picked by the big-time schools. Those three schools that are not in the ACC here in North Carolina that play in the bowl subdivision, they're struggling right now. So here in week one, what a contrast in the head coaching thing. You have the old dog and Dave Doran, who's pissed off. And then you have Blake Harrell, who might be the happiest guy on earth. He looks like a Keebler elf, just came out of some of that elfin magic, baking crackers up in a tree. So what is the vibe that you get from the Wolfpack and the Pirates, aside from the fact that they just literally hate each other's guts?
You know, I was at Charlotte last year, and we hung 55 on East Carolina.
Yeah, you did.
No, I just wanted to say that to make sure that they remember for the people in the back, you know. But you know, Dave Doran, I think this game and this is the personality that suits Dave. You know, he's pissed. You know, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got a football team that some people are questioning how good they're going to be. You know, what type of football team are they going to have? Is Coach Doran on the hot seat at NC State? All that kind of talk is going on. You got a new head coach, you know, over at East Carolina. You know, and make no mistake about it, man. East Carolina's been a good football team for a long time. I mean, they've had really good football teams, and tradition and history is outstanding there. I think, you know, to be honest with you, Mike, that's going to be one hell of a ball game. I mean, you know, and I'm just, you know, I mean, it will be a tough one for either one of those teams to lose, to come out of that 0-1. You know, I think it'll be tough, but I know this. Dave Doran, I think, has got that backed up in a corner type feeling, and I think that he's going to have his football team ready to go. And I'll be very, very surprised if the Wolfpack doesn't play extremely well and come out with the dub against ECU.
Well, you know, the last 2 years, NC State has been breaking in a brand new NIL quarterback. CJ Bailey has been around. And this kid, I got to tell you, when I saw him at the ACC football kickoff, Brew, man, I thought this was like a basketball player. He is tall and he is skinny, but that seems to be one of the prototypes that's out there for a quarterback right now. How durable is that kid? When you look at a guy like CJ Bailey, who's 6'6", 6'7", I mean, he's a string bean. How important does his offensive line then become to make sure that he's not on a stretcher? Because you know East Carolina is going to blitz.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And, you know, protecting your quarterback is obviously essential in any type of success that you're going to have. And the quarterback's ability to go win some plays with his feet is absolutely critical. And so, you know, it's going to come down to me, who's going to protect the quarterback. And again, it's explosive plays, Mike. It's explosive runs, it's explosive passes that's going to determine victory. And and I just, who has the playmakers? Who has the guys that can truly, change the scoreboard with a hitch, catch a 6-yard hitch route and take it to the house, and do something like totally exciting in that opening ball game. And I just think that I'm just going to tell you now, both those teams are going to be excited. They're going to be ready, and it's going to be a whale of an opener.
One last note on the Wolfpack and the Pirates. Wolfpack made changes at both offensive and defensive coordinator. They got rid of their offensive coordinator and Robert Anae, and they lost Tony Gibson to be the head coach at Marshall University up in Huntington. You mentioned earlier that one of the very big things for a head coach going into week one is being able to trust his staff. And when you look around to your left and your right and everybody's new, is that something that Dave Doran maybe is he deferring? Is he letting them run their shops, or is he really looking in almost like a substitute teacher looking over the shoulder of people to make sure that they're crossing the I's and they're dotting the T's?
Dave Doran is not a defer kind of guy. He's the guy that is going to freaking be involved in every detail of what's going on. Dave Doran is not going to hire a guy that he really doesn't feel like he knows, that he has an understanding about in the heat of battle, how this guy's going to respond, how he's going to perform. And so, I think that piece to it is going to work out just fine. Dave has got he's got a heck of a staff. He lost some good coaches, but he really added some great coaches. And so, and I think the biggest thing with NC State is it's just the personality that they're going to play with, Mike. Are they going to play with a true chip on their shoulder? Because if they do, make no mistake about it, I think that NC State has better personnel across the board than ECU does. That people may say, well, that's obvious. I mean, it's but that's not always been the case. I mean, ECU's had some really good football teams, and so I just really think that that's a great opener, and it's going to be a knockdown, drag them out, let's go, man.
Looking for the best food in Wrightsville Beach? Check out King Neptune Restaurant, owned by our friends Jimmy and Keaton Galeese. With fresh seafood, tasty steaks, creative cocktails, and the perfect beachside vibe, it's gotta be on your must-visit list. Whether you're grabbing a weekend lunch or brunch, enjoying dinner and drinks, or catching up with friends at the bar, King Neptune is the place to be. That's King Neptune Restaurant in Wrightsville Beach.
Another game that everybody's looking forward to just because they were the best team in North Carolina a year ago is Duke and their opener against Elon. This is going to be a Blue Devil win. And a lot of folks think that Duke could be in that top 4 or 5 teams in the ACC, maybe reach that 9-win plateau again, because Manny Diaz only lost 2 real impact players to the portal, so roster continuity is there. And he has a quarterback in Darian Mensah, who is either the 4th or the 5th highest paid person on the Duke campus, including the head of the medical school and the school president, 2 head coaches, football and basketball, and one of the Boozer twins. So this is a guy in Manny Diaz who a lot of people had written off. He didn't have a great experience as the head coach at Miami, but he comes back and he's making the most of this second opportunity. And I would think in the coaching profession, that has to be inspirational across the board that Manny Diaz is achieving at the level he is at Duke. What do you think about the Blue Devils this year?
Couldn't agree with you more, Mike. I mean, very, very, very good judgment on your part. Manny Diaz is now. My son was coached by Manny at the University of Texas. My son was a secondary player. Manny was the DC there. He's a guy that brings amazing energy to the field, to his teams. I'm going to tell you what, man. Coaching football is a hard, tough deal. I only wish that I got another opportunity to be a head coach based on the experience that I earned, while I was at Minnesota. Manny has done a great job of utilizing the experience he had at Miami And now he's brought it to Duke, and he's a comfortable guy. Bottom line is he's got players and he's got some money, Mike. I mean, he's got a quarterback that can freaking play, that is really a talented guy. And I mean, that gives him a chance to win. And you know what? Duke having a really good football team is a positive thing for the whole state of North Carolina, for the ACC in general. And so I think it's just absolutely outstanding. And Manny, they're recruiting. They are really doing one hell of a job at Duke. And it's really good. The opener right there against Elon, that's a game they should win. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And they should win impressively, But as they move into the tougher games in the schedule, then, we're going to find out a whole lot more about what Duke's all about and about their quarterback and about the roster. And so, I think we'll see a whole lot more as we move forward.
I like that Duke defense too. Chandler Rivers and Terry Moore, they are rock solid. And Manny is a defensive coach. So when you have kind of a brand as a coach, I would think you would have been an offensive head coach because you played offense.
Right.
Manny Diaz has been a defensive coordinator at a lot of places, Texas, Penn State, you name it. I mean, the guy's been around. And so Duke's defense is going to be good. In this day and age of college football where you can legitimately pay players, is it somewhat surprising to you that Duke has outdistanced North Carolina and NC State during the advent of this NIL era?
And I think that there's a lot of people still adjusting to the NIL and revenue sharing and all of the revenue that goes into recruiting now, but what I'm seeing, Mike, shoot, Duke says, count me in.
Right.
Count me in. I'm in this thing to win it. Okay. I'm not in this thing to be a backup, down the road team in the ACC. I'm in this thing to compete. I'm in this thing to win it. And I mean, if you spend 10 minutes with Manny, you'll figure out that he is a competitive dude. I mean, he is a competitive dude, and his football team is going to be an extremely competitive football team. And his administration, his athletic director, his president at Duke, they've given him the funds to go out there and get some guys that he can compete with. And I mean, I'm excited for Manny. I'm excited for Duke University that they're going to be able to go out there and field a really competitive football team.
Hey folks, David Glenn here. Game day just got easier thanks to NC by Train. Whether you're headed to Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, or Greensboro, skip the traffic and enjoy the ride. You get free Wi-Fi, comfy seats, and direct access to top sports towns, all at great prices. Learn more at ncbytrain.org and travel smarter to your next game. NC by Train. Go! Connect.
Coach, you are without a doubt the greatest recruiter in the history of college football. So I can't let this first edition of Bold North State Football Daily get away from us and not talk about a big recruiting thing going on here in North Carolina, the high school ranks. Of course, Friday night, the NCHSAA and the independent schools all opened up their 2025 high school football season. But last December, a guy who was a junior in high school, Kendry Harrison, out of Reidsville, 6'7", 250 pounds of absolute stud athlete, football and basketball. He commits to go to Oregon, not North Carolina, not NC State, not Clemson or Alabama or Georgia or Tennessee, but he goes all the way to the left coast and commits unofficially to go to Oregon. Now, as a recruiter, let's just play hypothetically. You're the head of recruiting or the head coach at Big State U here in North Carolina, and you're trying to flip him. How do you go about doing that?
Well, I think it's just all about the relationship that you build with the kid, that you build with his mother. I was very much involved in that recruiting process, and since I presently am not working for one of the schools, I can talk about this young guy. And you're talking about an amazingly gifted young guy. Here's a guy, but you know what? There's no surprise. I mean, Oregon right now with Dan Lanning. I mean, they're playing at a extremely high level. The money, the funds that they have at Oregon, they can go out and they can take care of somebody for the rest of their life. And that's not even talking about the NFL. We're talking about the money that you make while you're in college will take care of you for the rest of your life. Um, I think I don't know how good it is for the game, how good it is for football, because what you'd love is you'd love a young guy from Reidsville to play at Duke, to play at Carolina, to play at State, to play, in the backyard, the Tar Heel State, and so that would really, to me, be. But you know what? It's a businessman's game now, Mike. It's a businessman's world. It's all about money, and I know this. They put a deal together for him, where I mean, heck, it was just one he couldn't turn down, Mike. It was and it is what it is. It's where we're at.
And this is a kid too, Kendry Harrison. We're talking about him, plays for the Reidsville Rams,
Yep.
and he did not start last season at Reidsville. He was down in Charlotte at Providence State, but then he comes back to Reidsville about after the first quarter of the season. Said he was homesick, wasn't a good fit at Providence State. You were in Charlotte, you probably know some of the stuff that went on there. We don't have to go there if you don't want to. But if he couldn't handle being in Charlotte away from Reidsville, which was a relatively short drive, why do you think he feels? Is it just the money that makes him feel comfortable about being in Oregon? I mean, his family's not going to be able to see him. He's going to be 4 hours away, or 4 hours by plane away, if not more, because that's not exactly a direct flight into Eugene. So the other schools that we're talking about, Carolina, NC State, it's not like they don't have money too. So what would make Kendry Harrison? I mean, this kid, he seems to me to be the real deal. 6'7", 250, ranks out as a .9853, the third best player ranked in the state of North Carolina. I don't know who the hell's better than him. And 28th nationally, also a great basketball player. I mean, when you look at him, what do you see? Where do you see the potential for him to make a mark at the collegiate level? Football, basketball, both, one or the other?
He wants to play both. Okay, so he wants to play both sports. So let's put that out there first. And I think obviously his basketball background gives him. I love those guys. I love the basketball guys. I love the guys that can run the court and do those things. And I think that he's got toughness. He's shown some really good ability on the football field too. I think he's further ahead as a basketball player right now than he is a football player. And but I think that the upside of Kendry is going to be is just enormous, and so I think that there's some interesting things there as far as what made him leave Charlotte to go back home to Reidsville and this and that, and but I think that they'll put one of those 15 different uniforms on him at Oregon, and they'll get that Nike thing rolling, and they'll make him much more comfortable, Mike.
Need to move to North Carolina, within North Carolina, or away from North Carolina? Whether it's the Triangle, the Triad, or beyond, XL Moving and Storage is the company you can trust. Local, reliable, award-winning, and stress-free, XL's team handles every detail so you don't have to. Get your free quote today at xlms.com. That's EXCELMS.com. And tell them David Glenn sent you.
Lightning round right here with Coach Tim Brewster on Bold North State Football Weekly. Your 10-second answers and predictions for the following game. So just give it to me straight. First game, East Carolina, NC State, 7 o'clock, Carter Finley Stadium on Thursday night. Who do you have?
I've got NC State. I got the Wolfpack. I've got Dave Dorn backed up into a corner. His football team is going to play with a chip on their shoulders, and I don't think the game will be close.
Next, we go to Folsom Field, where you used to coach on Coach Prime's staff. Boulder, Colorado, Friday, August 29th. Georgia Tech and Brent Key, who has that same Dave Doran. He might have heads in his freezer personality. I mean, this guy is super intense. Georgia Tech at Colorado, 8 o'clock on ESPN.
I'll tell you what, the record of teams going in to play the Denver Broncos, going in to play the University of Colorado Buffaloes is tough. That altitude is a beast, Mike. And so I'm going to tell you what, and I have a hard time going against Prime in opening games. He's had this whole off season to put together his plan for this game. I think that Georgia Tech is going to come out there. They're going to play tough. They're going to, but I'm saying that it's going to be the Colorado Buffs.
A lot of big games on Saturday, August 30th. Man, it doesn't get any better than number 8 Alabama down at Doak Campbell Stadium. Finally done with all the construction down there. You've been a member of that squad too. Got a nice big ring that you'll probably show us here in a couple of weeks at some point that you won with famous Jameis. But Alabama at Florida State. Does Mike Norvell pull the upset? Does he come back from being the first ever 17th place finisher in the ACC with a big upset in week 1?
I think it's time to win for Coach Norvell. I think that the Florida State Seminoles are it's a tremendous program. Coach Bowden, Coach Fisher, but I'll tell you what, I have a hard time going against the Alabama Crimson Tide in that opening game. There's some people chirping in Kalen Labor's ear, about the success of his football team too. So he's going to have that. He's going to have that team ready to rock and roll. But I'm going to tell you, I go with Alabama on the road. Big road victory for the Tide.
Number 9 LSU with my former teammate Brian Kelly against the number 4 ranked Clemson Tigers. This is a legit ABC wow game. 7:30 on Saturday night in the Death Valley of South Carolina. Is it Dabo or BK in this one?
I got to go with Dabo. I think the real Death Valley is going to show up big. I think that I've been there many, many times. Saturday night in Death Valley is going to be amazing. I think Brian Kelly's in a tough spot. It's time for him to win some games. There's some big games at LSU, but it's not going to be Saturday night. I think it's the Clemson Tigers in a big one.
Sunday at 7:30, also on ABC. Number 6 Notre Dame at number 10 Miami. This one could be a lot of fun to watch. And Mario Cristobal is just waiting for the opportunity to make something happen early and get those people off his back, because people were chirping at him as well down in Coral Gables.
No question about it, Mike. But I'm going to tell you what, I'm not so sure. Notre Dame is back. Notre Dame is a heck of a football team. Their roster looks outstanding. Going on the road to play against Miami down in Coral Gate, it's going to be tough one. I say the Fighting Irish.
Ooh, goes with the Golden Domers right there. And then our final game, Labor Day Monday, 8 o'clock on the flagship ESPN, TCU and North Carolina, 8 p.m. under the Pines. Big game, national spotlight, Monday Night Football. TCU or Carolina, Coach Brew?
You know what? I tell you what, just taking my sentiment, taking my emotion out of the game. I spent 11 years wearing Carolina blue. I love the Tar Heels, always will, regardless. But I'm going to just I think that they've got better personnel. I think that the Tar Heels are going to win a tough, hard-fought football game. And I just think that it's going to be a good opener for Coach Belichick and the Tar Heels.
Man, I cannot wait to come back and talk ball with you for week 2, as this is our week 1 show of Bold North State Football Daily. Coach Brew, it is great to have you here on the North Carolina Sports Network, where we might only have you for a year, because if the football gods are paying attention and somebody's a smart AD out there, they're going to make you a head coach in time for opening day 2026. But brother, we are glad to have you and Kathy here on the NCSN team, and we look forward to talking to you next week about more North Carolina and ACC college football.
Mike, thank you so much. Look forward to it.
This has been Bold North State Football Daily, an exclusive presentation of the North Carolina Sports Network. Make sure you follow us on social media at the NC Sportsnet, and check out our website that is wall-to-wall coverage of North Carolina sports at ncsportsnetwork.com. Our foundational partner is the North Carolina Pork Council, raising the bacon, raising the bar. Telling the stories of the bold North State, this is the North Carolina Sports Network.